happiness is not in a strange place. Morning in the city where David lived always began the same way. The blaring horns, the rush of traffic, and sunlight bouncing off endless glass towers. He had lived there for over 10 years, 10 long years of chasing success, believing that someday he would finally find happiness. David used to think happiness lived somewhere ahead, in a better apartment, a higher position, or a busier social life. Every day he woke up, put on a suit, grabbed his coffee, and dove into the noise of the city like a machine. When I have enough money, when I'm recognized, when I reach everything I've dreamed of, he told himself, then I'll be happy. But strangely, the more he gained, the emptier he felt inside. One late night, after another long meeting, David drove back to his high-rise apartment. The moment he opened the door, silence greeted him. The warm light from the ceiling fell across the wooden floor. Beautiful, yet cold. He placed his briefcase on the chair, opened the fridge, just a bottle of water and some leftovers. He turned on the TV, letting the noise fill the emptiness, but somehow it only made the loneliness louder. He looked out the window. Across the street, a family was having dinner. The sound of a child's laughter drifted through the air, soft, fleeting, but it pierced right through his heart. The next morning, David received a call from home. His mother's voice trembled slightly. "I'm fine, son. Just a little tired. Don't worry." But something in her tone made his chest tighten. He took a few days off and booked a ticket back. The train rolled past endless fields and small villages, the kind of landscape he hadn't really seen in years. The wind rustled through the trees, sunlight danced on the green rice paddies. Everything felt distant, yet achingly familiar. The small house where he'd grown up hadn't changed much. The faded walls, the tiled roof, the faint smell of wood smoke from the kitchen. His mother stepped out, her silver hair shining in the sun. "You've lost weight, David," she said with a gentle smile. He hugged her tightly. For the first time in a long time, warmth flowed back into his chest. At dinner, they sat at the old wooden table. His mother brought out a simple meal: soup, a little fish, and a bowl of rice. As he picked up his chopsticks, his eyes stung. It had been so long since he'd sat at this table, hearing the sound of spoons and pots, smelling the steam of a home-cooked meal. It wasn't fancy, but it was everything he hadn't realized he missed. That evening, David took a walk along the village road. Children were laughing. Old men sat chatting by their doors, the golden light of sunset covering the rooftops. He stopped beneath the old almond tree near his school, the same place where, as a boy, he'd dreamt of seeing the world. He had traveled far, seen great cities, met countless people. Yet he had never felt as peaceful as he did standing there, surrounded by the scent of soil and memories. Later that night, his mother sat by the dim lamp, mending his old shirt. The soft glow fell upon her wrinkled but kind face. "Are you happy, David?" she asked quietly. "In that city of yours? Are you really happy?" He stayed silent for a long moment before whispering, "I have everything I wanted, Mom, but somehow it still feels like something's missing." She smiled tenderly. "That's because happiness doesn't live in faraway places, my son. It lives right here, in your heart, in the people you love, in the little things you once forgot." That night, David stepped outside. The stars above glittered across the dark sky. He remembered the nights of his childhood, lying beside his father, counting those same stars. The breeze was cool and soft, carrying the smell of wet earth. For the first time in years, he felt peace. He realized that all along he had been chasing a shadow, when happiness had always been right here in the quiet moments, in love, in belonging. The next morning, he helped his mother in the garden. Dewdrops sparkled on the leaves, sunlight filtered through the branches, and birds sang somewhere in the distance. His heart felt light. His mother looked at him and said softly, "Happiness is simple, David. You just have to stop running and feel it." When he returned to the city, David was a different man. He still worked, but no longer let work consume him. He cooked for himself, planted small pots of flowers by the window, and called his mother every weekend. Slowly, he began to see happiness was never about where you are, but how you choose to see. One afternoon, he sat in a cafe and saw a father holding his daughter's hand as they crossed the street. The girl laughed, her voice pure and bright. David smiled without realizing, a quiet warmth blooming inside. That night, it rained softly. He stood by the window, watching the droplets fall against the glass. The city lights shimmered beyond the mist. On his desk sat a framed photo, him and his mother, smiling. For the first time, his apartment didn't feel empty anymore. He whispered to himself, "I've gone so far, Mom, but now I understand. Happiness was never somewhere out there. It was here, within me, all along." Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the city in silver light. And in that small apartment, a man who had once been lost finally found his way home, not to a place, but to his own heart. Story. The most important things are often forgotten. Morning light filtered weakly through the gray winter sky. In a quiet apartment high above the city, warm yellow light glowed over the reflection of Min, a man in his mid-30s, straightening his tie before the mirror. He glanced at his watch. 5 minutes behind schedule. On the table sat a bowl of porridge, already cold, and a small note, written in trembling handwriting, "My dear son, I warmed the porridge for you. It's getting cold these days. Remember to eat before work. I'm going for my checkup this morning. Don't forget to breathe in the fresh air on the balcony. It's beautiful today." Mom Min looked at the note, expressionless. He had no time. There was a meeting at 8, and it mattered more than anything else. The car sped through the busy streets. While the traffic lights blinked red, Min scrolled endlessly through his phone. Messages, deals, schedules. Everything was neatly arranged, down to the minute. Everything except time for those who loved him. That afternoon his phone rang, a nurse's voice, calm and polite. "Mr. Min, your mother fainted while waiting for her appointment. She's conscious now, but you should come to sign for further tests." Min froze for a second. He wanted to rush there, but then sighed. "I have an important meeting. I'll come tonight." When he finally arrived at the hospital, his mother was already asleep. Her face looked pale and fragile, her wrinkled hand held tightly to an old handkerchief, the one she had since his father passed away. The doctor said softly, "She's fine for now, mild heart failure. She said her son's been busy lately and she doesn't want to bother him." Min said nothing. He just stood there, staring at the silver strands of her hair, remembering all the mornings she had cooked breakfast, the nights she stayed up waiting, the quiet patience that he had mistaken for permanence. For the first time, he realized his mother was getting old. Days went by. Min started coming home earlier. He tried cooking porridge the way his mother used to, clumsy, uneven, but full of care. Each time she smiled faintly and said, "It's delicious." Something inside him softened. One afternoon, he took her for a walk in the park nearby. She pointed to an old tree and said, "You know, when you were little, I brought you here every morning. You used to run around that tree and fall down again and again, but you always laughed." Min looked at the tree, roots coiling up through the earth, leaves shimmering in the sun. A strange warmth rose in his chest. He once believed happiness came from achievements, from buildings, cars, numbers, success. But sitting here next to his mother, he finally understood happiness could be as simple as watching leaves fall with someone who never left. Months later, Min's company won a major award. The hall was filled with applause as he stepped on stage, bright lights shining on his face. He smiled, bowed, and glanced toward the front row. The seat reserved for his mother was empty. The clapping blurred into silence inside him. He suddenly realized, no matter how many people cheered his name, none would ever call it with the same warmth his mother did. That night, Min went home early. His mother had already fallen asleep. He sat by her bedside and held her frail hand, the same hand that once led him across childhood streets. Tears fell quietly onto her skin. "Mom," he whispered. She opened her eyes, smiled weakly, and asked, "Why are you crying, my son?" "I'm just afraid I've forgotten what truly matters." She squeezed his hand gently. "It's all right, dear. The important things never leave us. Sometimes we just need to stop and notice that they're still here." From that day, Min changed. He slowed down. He learned to put his phone away during meals, to listen to stories he once ignored, to call old friends, to smile at the fruit vendor down the street. Each morning, he opened the window, breathing in the crisp air, just as his mother once told him, and in that quiet breeze, he could almost hear her voice. "The most important things, my son, are not found in grand moments, but in the sunlight we still see, the laughter we still hear, and the people we still have to love." A year later, his mother passed away. It rained gently that morning. Min stood under the same old tree in the park, clutching the faded handkerchief in his palm. Raindrops slid down his face. He wasn't sure if they were from the sky or his eyes. But this time, he smiled, because now he had remembered. He had learned to cherish. He had said thank you in time. The narrator's voice softens. People often travel far chasing happiness, only to find that it was never gone. It was simply waiting, right where we left it. Final message: the most important things in life are not found in distant places. They live quietly in the eyes that see us, in the voices that call our name, in the moments we once forgot to love